freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gaiman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach. And joining me to break it all down, the coach is here. What's up, Coach?
Well, I'm actually doing the show from right near where Mark is because I'm actually in the field this week, so I'll be out practicing tomorrow.
I love it. And you don't get sick of me, Coach. We've got this pod and we've got Early Edge tomorrow morning, so you and I are going to be seeing a lot of each other.
Winners never get sick of each other, my friend. We never get sick of each other.
I love it. Kyle Porter is here. KP, what up?
I think Coach and Spieth had the same world ranking last week at Phoenix, but now Spieth has jumped you, so we have a field headliner.
Jordan just nipped him. And Mark Immelman is here. And Mark, when I say here, I'm actually referring to the 18th at Pebble. You are there, my friend.
I am, and Coach, I just got the message from our producer, Sellers Shah, that I've got your group on Thursday afternoon, so you better bring it, brother. No, all jokes aside, my room is overlooking the 18th green and that iconic Monterey pine over there, and of course the fairway. It's pretty out right now. Sort of sunshiny, kind of gloomy, but there's rain in the forecast. So, Coach, you better pack your rain gear, bro.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out how you get the CBS money, so your room is overlooking the 18th green. When I did PGA Tour live here 2 years ago, we were staying 22 minutes away. I don't know how is that fair, but it seems apropos.
I don't know. You know, some of us, it's just the charmed life, really. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Good love it. Producer Jacob said Mark took DJ's room. That is now available, which is pretty funny.
Stairs.
Yeah, no stairs. Be careful, Mark. Before we jump into the storylines for this week and get into everything excellent going on up in Pebble Beach, don't forget that you can win a free year of Sportsline, a subscription to Sportsline for a year for free. It's unbelievable stuff. And it's perfect because you get their award-winning picks and the patented Sportsline model. All you have to do, listen carefully, is leave a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts for the First Cut. Drop in the review a player that you think is going to make the cut this week at Pebble Beach. Leave your Twitter handle so we can get a hold of you, and make sure you're following at First Cut Pod on Twitter so that we can tell you that you won. That's a way to get into a draw. Gentlemen, storylines. Things have changed since the last time we've talked. A lot has changed in the world of golf. Let's start with the PGA approving use of rangefinders for all of its championships, which means Kiowa Island, Bryson's going to be out there holding a rangefinder, or I guess maybe his caddy will be. There's going to be a lot of takes for this. So let's go to our main take master first. Kyle Porter. You were on fire on Twitter today, my friend. You love this stuff.
I think Bryson's going to be holding a telescope rather than it says what's the terminology? Distance measuring device. I mean, that can be anything with Bryson. That could be a number of different things. It's interesting that you said that, because I don't know that I have a strong opinion one way or the other on this. I've kind of gone to both sides of this in the same afternoon here. And at first I was like, okay, this is good, speed things up. And then it's like, well, will it really? Because it's just another thing that you're kind of adding to the mix. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. I feel like almost Greg or Mark would be better, because that's more kind of the world that they exist in. I do think, for us, for making content online and on Twitter and stuff, it's phenomenal, because you're going to get just a litany of Patrick Reed jokes. You're going to get the Bryson stuff, the Dustin Johnson and Austin Johnson, yardage jokes, all that stuff is going to be fantastic. But in terms of a rule and a pace of play thing, I don't totally know where I land on it yet.
So I'm glad we have Mark here, but I'm going to save him because he's going to come in and educate us all at the end here. So, Coach, I'm going to head to you next, and I'm with Kyle.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, oh, you know what? This will probably speed things up. And then, honestly, there was a couple of guys who came out. John Wood, who has been on the telecast this year, caddy on the PGA Tour. He basically is like, not really, right? Like this, because anytime there's a discrepancy between what they have in their book and what the laser says, that's going to slow things down. And it's just going to be one of these situations. And we kind of saw this when you could leave the flag stick in. Some guys would leave it in, some would take it out. Now they're playing this game where they're shuffling around, putting it in, taking it out, and it's taking longer on the green. So I at first thought it was going to speed things up, but maybe not so.
Full disclosure, I am an ambassador for the PGA of America. I've been on a couple of different calls towards the end of 2020 where they were discussing several different things to make a splash, to make a difference, to make a change. And I said, I don't think last May, when the time was right to make the change, that we were thinking about this would be what the PGA of America would come out with, when there's so many other things that they could do to help the championship and help the Ryder Cup. Where I think this is going to cause a problem, and I'm sure somebody would say, oh, we never thought we would be here, is there's a lot of fancy devices, right? All you're supposed to be able to do, if I'm not mistaken, is just be able to get the distance. But it's illegal to get the slope. It's illegal to use it for other things, and I think that could pose a problem if players decide. Because how are you going to monitor it? Is there going to be a little device in each person's device to say that they did or did not do that? I think this opens up a big can of worms. I'm a little bit shocked that they decided to do it at their biggest event. I would have probably started it, I don't know, at their college championship just to see if speed of play was real, or at the KPMG, but a little shocked that they decided to do it, and they're doing it this year, to be honest with you.
I think you have to ask the question of how they monitor other equipment, which is they don't. So I think it
right.
And so I think it's you know, I don't know. I'm curious to hear what Mark has to say about it, because I think that I don't know.
Me too, Mark. And here's the thing, and you're out there, you're getting the numbers, you know this, right? And also, it's one thing to get a number to the stick, but that's like 1/5 of it all, right? Like they need the number they want the number to carry. They want to know how far to the edge. There's a lot more going on in, like me, I just shoot the number, get the stick, and I'm like, well, anything within 10 yards of that's good for me. That's not how they do it on the PGA Tour.
That's a really appropriate call there, Rick. And I actually was part of a little thread with Gary Young this morning, who's the lead rules official on the PGA Tour right now. And he said that the tour had tested this with the Corn Ferry Tour maybe last year or whenever it was. And what they found out from all of their research is that the use of the rangefinder did not improve the pace of play at all. The only time it really made a bit of a difference was when a player was outside the ropes and someone could just laser a player on the green and get you like an eyeball. But to your point, these players look for a cover yardage. They look for a maximum yardage. They're not necessarily going to the flag. And so that's where, this is thrown out the window. And I'm curious to hear coaches' take on this, because to me, it seemed like the PGA trying to do something just to make a little bit of a splash or a name for themselves. And what I found curious when I started poking around a little bit on this was Kerry Haig, who is the Director of Championships, I think is his title, who I respect highly. I mean, he is one of the great minds in the game. Did not have a comment on this one. And then in the press release, there was nothing said about pace of play. The term that was used was the flow of play. And I'm not so sure what the flow of play is. But I can tell you this from the player-caddy relationships, I cannot see this improving the pace of play whatsoever. I really cannot. It's giving the caddy an extra thing to carry. And so I think it's just the PGA sort of trying to do something a little bit different. Let's not forget that they were the guys that made wearing short pants over here in their major championship. They allowed it. Them and the USGA, I feel like, did it as well. But I know the PGA did. So it's a PR move to me. I can't see how it's going to gain much traction. And from a pure, from the college golf coach in me, I can see one or two things happening. Play staying just as slow, because in college golf, it is pedestrian at best. And then there's going to be some golfer in the fourth hole that goes, oh, shucks, I've left the slope feature on my rangefinder on. And then he gets done with the pedal. Because when they're using these things, they're using them in practice rounds where the main feature for this rangefinder is to find out the actual yardage, not what it is on the ground. So if it's 5 yards up or whatever the case might be. And so there's just another thing to police to Carl's point. And so I'm not buying in right now. Really, I'm not. The yardage book will never go away, to be honest with you, in my opinion.
I'll go ahead and jump in, Mark, because you just hit the nail on the head. How the last Zoom call ended with me and the PGA of America there was a lot of tension, because I said, because they had a chance to make a change and a difference last May when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening, when the golf organizations who have little to no diversity whatsoever, they had a chance to really make a change. And all they did was come out with 2 statements, and that was it. So in November, when I said to them on the call, just being completely honest, I said, what have we done the last 7 months overtly outside of the company to show people really trying to make a change? And they said, well, we have a strategy. We started it in March. I said, okay, tell me what that is. Well, it's still being developed. I said, please just tell me something. And I get very frustrated when I put my name on a company or with a company, and then all they do is sit there and put out a couple of statements and nothing happens. So I said, what about a partnership with a gambling company? And they're like, oh, we're going to roll that out around April. I said, so they're going to lose 6 months of revenue as a partner with money coming in. It seems like to me they have meetings to have meetings, and I call it they're protecting their pension. That as long as nobody makes a big play or nobody makes an idea that's going to put them out on the island, they're fine with that. That's the problem with the PGA of America. And that's why I have a problem right now being a part of what they're doing moving forward, because it's always just a little bit here to make a stunt, like Mark said. And I believe absolutely that's all this is.
It's so interesting that, if in 5 minutes after this news comes out, everyone's kind of like, this isn't going to really do anything. We're 11 and a half minutes into this pod. We've kind of debunked this. So KP, we've talked about why, but even more so, like, does this go anywhere? I mean, obviously this is one event. It's the PGA Championship that these guys are going to be allowed to use it. Do you see any wider rollout? Are we going to have to wait and see what the feedback from this change is going to be moving forward?
Well, I think what's interesting, and I was thinking about this when it came out, is does this open the door for, because we talked a lot about equipment recently, does this open the door for like, oh, well, this organization is, because I think casual fans right now, they think that everybody's the same. They think that PGA of America events are the same as USGA events, are the same as PGA Tour, and all this stuff.
Yes.
So, and they conflate the PGA of America with the PGA Tour to take it a step further. So, I think it a little bit opens the door for, okay, well, this organization's doing this, Augusta's going to do this. The RNA's over here doing this. And I'm not talking about rangefinders and slopes, and I'm talking about anything, driver, the grind on your wedges, all these different things. Because I can't remember, and maybe I'm sure there's been something in recent memory where one of the organizations has said, well, we're just going to go do this, and you guys do whatever you want. That doesn't happen very often. And so this feels a little bit unusual in that sense. And I wonder what it allows the other organizations to kind of go and do their own thing in the near future.
That is a fantastic call, Kyle. Just help me before I make my statement so I don't have to put my foot in my mouth. When that ball data was released here recently, that was just a USGA and an RNA thing. The PGA weren't involved. Am I correct?
That's right.
The Masters Club weren't either. And to me, this smacks of sleight of hand. And I've said this before in this podcast, where the real issue at the professional level is how far the golf ball is traveling. And all these companies have relationships with equipment companies, all these organizations, I should say. So to take the focus away from how far the ball's going and managing the equipment, they're like, oh, well, we're going to change the name of a penalty hazard to a penalty area. And we're going to now suddenly not allow you to use, we're going to not allow you to use a rangefinder during competition. I'm like, to me, I'm sort of seeing through this whole thing a little bit and say, like Coach says, how about addressing one or two causes if this is in your company interests and your mission, and then do something about the problem at hand. And that's not passive play, because trust me, I've seen at the college level, they are slow as rip, and they all use rangefinders. And the pro level, with fields of 140 plus players, if you're using a rangefinder or not, it's going to be pedestrian on Thursday and Friday.
All right. Well, we're obviously going to have this is going to evolve over time, so we'll keep a close eye on this story. We spent Monday, Greg, Sia, and myself breaking down the entire fantasy slate for this week, Coach, and we were rocking and rolling. And then Monday evening, the biggest dog says, nah, I'm out. Dustin Johnson has withdrawn. His statement includes essentially he's healthy. It's the trip back. He wants a little time to relax at home, all that good stuff. So this field changes in quite a significant way, Coach.
I got 2 words for you. Jet freaking lag. So that's 3 words, actually. Jet lag. So I made this trip to Saudi Arabia. And I said earlier today, as I was kind of handicapping what I was looking towards today, that anybody that makes a trip back, that just like Rory did at Torrey Pines, that takes a test before they leave, has to quarantine for a day or 2, and then has very little time to get ready. It didn't surprise me that he pulled out. I watched almost every shot that he hit on Sunday, and he is as lost right now as I've ever seen him. But he could have won by 12 shots. I think he's just very, very frustrated with his game. He looked completely lost on the greens. He couldn't hit the hole from 2 feet away. I mean, that's literal. He couldn't do it. So I just think he's a little bit lost. I think he doesn't want to go out there and not embarrass himself, even though it's a place that he loves to play. He's won here, and he does very well here. I think he's just tired. He says, listen, I got to fix his putting, or I don't need to be out here. And so Riviera, that's the place that he loves the most. I think he's going to fix that and then be back next week.
Well, that I think is even more so. We live in a world now where this golf schedule is stacked. And KP, we're gonna have Riviera next week. We're gonna have a WGC event before it. That's the new event in Florida. Previously the WGC Mexico. I think it's called the Concessions this year. So I mean, this is there's going to be few opportunities to get a rest week in, and this kind of felt like a natural one for DJ, even though he was already in the field, even though he was already listed as historically short in the betting markets, 3.5 or 4-1, and a place that he's had a ton of success. I guess you got to pick your spots here.
Yeah, and it's kind of a natural one for everybody. And this is the unfortunate part, is that it coincides with, I don't know, one of the 5 best courses on tour, one of the 3 best courses on tour, is that you've got that going one way, and then you've got this sort of bye week. I mean, we should just have bye weeks, right? Like, why are there?
We should.
And I don't know. Maybe that just pushes the season into December, but
I got to pay bills, Kyle. We can't do bye weeks. I got to pay the bills.
I'm sorry, but it sucks. It sucks that sort of natural break coincides with Pebble Beach. Also, maybe don't go to Saudi Arabia. That's another take, but I don't know. I sort of get it from everybody's like individual perspective. It makes sense. Go to Saudi Arabia, get paid, take Pebble off, play Riviera. It just sucks for the event overall.
Yeah, it does. And Mark, you're obviously on scene there. I think I saw that this is actually going to be, in terms of strength of field, the metric, the weakest field that this event has ever had with DJ pulling out. We're still going to have Patrick Cantlay. We're still going to have Daniel Berger. We're still going to have Paul Casey. But there are some names in this field that are not household names. But I would argue, and there are some weeks, and depending on how this plays out, I mean, this could be a life-changing week for a lot of guys. The ability to get those 500 FedEx Cup points. I know how important those are, Mark, but the status, I mean, this thing has opened up, and there are guys licking their chops at a life-changing opportunity.
Well, I mean, you guys joke with me, and now I always talk about FedEx Cup points being the only currency. And you're right. I mean, this is an opportunity for somebody because the whole nature of this event has changed, and I think that might have influenced DJ's decision too. Because if he was truly trying to get ready for LA, and this is my opinion, I don't know for certain. You come to the West Coast because, trust me, I flew in here from Atlanta yesterday. And I was awake at 4 a.m. this morning because I'm on the Eastern time zone and the West is 3 hours behind. So there's that to have to bear in mind. So if he was truly into Riviera, I figure, why not just come out here, get on the West Coast anyway? Hey, who knows? He might be, and get on the West Coast time in preparation for Riviera, which is a big deal, especially for Dustin Johnson. But Gretzky, obviously, the whole tournament's changed. There's no third course. It's just Spyglass. It's just Pebble Beach. There's no Monterey Peninsula. There's no Pro-Am. So he's not playing alongside dad-in-law or whatever Gretzky is to him. And so I feel like the whole dynamic changed. So he sort of looked at this going, yeah, I'm not playing so great. I've just won more money. I've just won more points. I've solidified my position at the top of the world rankings. Let's get some rest before this vicious run that's commencing with the Riviera next week as we go through Florida, because most of those events down there, none of these guys are going to skip. And of course, there's the Players' Championship just looming around the corner a few weeks away right now. So I think there's some of that brought to bear. But me personally, I'm just jacked to be here because a few weeks ago, I wasn't sure that this event was going to go ahead. They first canceled the Pro-Am. The state basically wasn't open. And I'm like, Pebble Beach, we on site here. What are we going to eat? Kind of thing. But the place is open. The golf course looks magnificent, I got to tell you. The facilities are here. And I think a lot of folks are just happy that there's an event going ahead, because this thing is one of those events that's always been on the tour schedule. And it's one of those events that even though the field may be weakened, if you're holding that trophy, it's a pretty prestigious title, despite the weaker field. And those 500 FedEx Cup points are not to be scoffed at, because if you get that done, you're guaranteed a playoff start. And who knows then what happens in those final 3 weeks.
Absolutely. There is still plenty up for grabs. Mark, I'm glad you brought up the fact that there are no amateurs in the field. So no AMs. The Pro-Am has no AMs. We've narrowed this down to 2 courses. And Jason Day had an interesting quote about this event. I don't know if the quote was this week or if he said it last year, Coach, but it might indicate why he's had such great success at this course. He actually says he likes the Pro-Am because these super long 6.5 hour rounds, he's like, hey, I've got time to look at a putt a couple more times. There's some really awkward spots around the greens that I want to make sure I give a second glance to. And he actually said sometimes on the PGA Tour, when we get into 2 balls on the weekend, it feels like we're sprinting. So there is going to be a lot of differences this week, even for guys that like this, Coach. It's gonna be different this week.
Every time Jason Day opens his mouth about pace of play, I just want to say, shut up! Because this is a dude who famously said a couple of years ago, when this was a big deal, that I'm playing for $1 million every week. And the guy at home doing the 510 Nassau is not. So I'm going to play as slow as I want to play, which is completely the wrong take that you need to have as a professional golfer. The whole goal is not to be out there for 6 hours or 7. That's not the goal of golf. To grow the game, you don't need 7-hour rounds. But that plays right into his wheelhouse. This is why he's here. Now, I will say this. 2 years ago when I was on site, I asked everybody that I could ask. I said, how come the big boys don't come here? This is Pebble Beach. And they're like, they hate the weather in February, and they hate the fact that they play 6.5 rounds. And a lot of players hate talking for 4 rounds, 4 different days. And by the time you get to Sunday, you're exhausted because you've had to give all this energy to your Pro-Am partner when you're trying to win the golf tournament. So a lot of guys say, you know what, screw it. I don't care that it's Pebble Beach, but for a guy like Jason Day, it's a perfect opportunity for him to do well.
I would be the perfect Pro-Am partner. I would not say a guy. I'd be like, dude, you got a lot going on. You do not need to talk to me. I'm happy to just go walk over here by myself. It's all good. KP, come here before we take a break and go over to the other side. I have a couple of questions here for you. First off, who's going to be the first guy to have a rangefinder sponsorship? Bryson already has his lined up, right?
I'm sure Ricky already has 3.
Ricky does.
Yeah.
No, Ricky's already done the commercials with. He's already done the commercials.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're gonna see, and we're gonna see branded. They're gonna have branded covers on them. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. I've got the featured groups for this week, Kyle, and I'd like to know if you can only watch one of these groups all week long. So, or I guess for the first 2 days. So here are the groups: Jordan Spieth, Nick Taylor, Ricky Fowler. That's one. Jason Day.
Nick Taylor.
Yeah, baby. Wire to wire. Last wire to wire winner on the PGA Tour. Yeah. Jason Day, Si Woo Kim, and Patrick Cantlay. That's another. Number 3 is Phil Mickelson, Max Homa, Paul Casey. And number 4 is Francesco Molinari, Brandt Snedeker, and Stuart Sink.
Stuart Sink. Wow,
that last one's tough. The last one's tough.
I got to go with the Nick Taylor group.
Spieth, Taylor, Fowler.
I don't know that I want it for Nick Taylor, but by the way, Ricky's going to have not only a rangefinder sponsor, but also a rangefinder with a slope sponsor. It's going to be two separate ones. So.
That's smart.
Yeah, the feature. I mean, it's again that's a tough feature groups list. It's not, but I think obviously the Spieth Fowler Nick Taylor one you guys make fun of me all year, and then all of a sudden you need somebody to talk about Spieth, and it's very convenient that I'm on here.
Let me jump in real quick. This is a true story. So last week when Spieth was going bonkers on Friday, he was not in our featured groups. So I said something on the air. I said, I made this call. We're switching to the Spieth group away from Webb Simpson and Hideki. People on social media lost their minds, except there was one dude who was like, yeah, let's go. I normally don't go in and look at tweets, but I did. It was Kyle. Kyle was the only dude on my social media that wanted us to switch to Jordan Spieth. I've never seen people lose their minds, and that part's not true. But
okay, I knew that was. Knew that was not true. I was like, "There's no way Kyle did that." I know him too well.
He did. But half the people who tweeted me, this is true. They said I base who I bet on off of who you guys are going to show on PGA Tour Live. I swear they did. And I was like, well, then that's a problem. Because if you're basing off who, then you're going to, long term, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. So,
that is a
but
problem.
people, yeah, that's a problem. But they lost their minds when we switched to the Spieth group, for sure.
Yeah, they were not happy, Coach. I saw that as well. Mark, okay, I actually like this Jason Day, Siwoo Kim, Patrick Cantlay group. Yeah. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, that's a good group, but Phil around Carmel is a good deal for me. He's won here before. He comes in here ordinarily with no form whatsoever, and he just finds a little something, and he always finds a way to contend. And I don't know if it was last year or the year before, I believe, and I had him on Saturday in the early coverage before the CBS show, and I was out there, and he hit this fairway bunker shot on the third. It was like imagine a dog going to the bathroom, a male dog, right? What the legs look like. This is what Phil looked like in a bunker, and he fizzes this low wedge in behind the flag there, spins it back to like this far away, and he comes walking out there with that sort of elongated swagger, and he looks at me and goes, "Yeah, I'm the boss." I was like, "You're a legend," and so I mean, I love to watch him play, especially around a place like this where there's more creativity needed around Pebble Beach than anything else. And Phil and Spieth are the ultimate at that sort of thing. So you can spray it a little bit on certain holes around this place, but if you hit irons and wedges and such, well, the greens are so small, it's like a chipping and putting contest. So I'm more interested in the Phil group personally.
Phil is my new favorite stat. Phil is won more recently than Xander.
Wait, you are so fickle, because the other day, you were talking about Xander next to the Archangel Michael and Gabriel and Xander Schauffele, and now you're out on him last week. Come on, Kyle, stick with someone for a while.
Wait, I think Xander is. I've been out on Xander for a long time.
I don't see, unless my memory must be failing me then.
You and Phil, you need some of that coffee for wellness from Phil. Get it back.
My favorite Phil stat is that only one golfer has missed more fairways than Phil this year. One golfer. His name? Jimmy Walker. No, not Jordan Spieth. That would be awesome though. Jordan Spieth's like 2 spots ahead of Phil Mickelson. That would be awesome.
Jimmy Walker's using that steel shaft in his driver.
Yeah, he's got a 38-inch driver, not the 48-incher. If you want to watch Phil on the weekend, assuming he makes it there, the coverage is provided by CBS, and there are more ways to watch than ever. You could watch over old, boring television, or you can watch by streaming your local CBS sports station on CBS All Access. You can watch for free on CBSSports.com, and you can watch for free on the CBS Sports app. Gentlemen, we are going to update our little super contest here. We're going to give you our best bets. We're going to talk one and done, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Super contest standings. We are actually doing pretty good here, guys. So our best bets, that is what we make our betting cards. We designate one of them as our best bet. We are actually all on the positive side in our best bets. That is great. We range from an 18% positive ROI to a 141%. That's Mark. That's you, Mark. Your best bets are honed in, my man. Yes. Love it. So we are doing good here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up, or producer Jacob is actually going to pull up. And Coach, you'll get a kick out of this. I said that Jacob is no longer the jeweler. He is the accountant. Have you seen the spreadsheet that he has all together for all this stuff? It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
He's just showing off. He's just showing off now. That's all he's doing.
Well, it's working. I'm loving it. Okay, so Coach, we'll bring up your betting card here first.
Okay.
So we're gonna give Jacob a second here, and I'm gonna run through it, and then I'd like you to tell me your favorite aspects of this. So I see 3 tournament-long head-to-head matchups: Jordan Spieth over Jason Day, Will Zalatoris over Paul Casey, Sam Burns over Cameron Davis. You have taken a Cantlay Spieth double chance. That means either of them to win at plus 500. You have Henrik Norlander as your top European player, and you have Ricky Fowler to miss the cut at plus 150. Talk to me, Coach.
Yeah, right now until I get to late spring, early summer, I'm going to grind it out. I need points. I need to really put points into the bank. So that's why I went heavy on my 3 matchups. And I just said I don't think Jason Day's playing that well, and I think Jordan Spieth is. So this is more about Day than it is Spieth, to be honest with you. Paul Casey just came back from not 1 week, 2 weeks overseas, and he had to do the whole quarantine thing. I think he fades. I think by Friday he's really tired. I think Sunday for Will Zalatoris was an aberration. I think he continues to play well. I think this is easy. Then Sam Burns, he's up there every single week. And Cameron Davis, I don't think this course sets up well for him at all. I don't think he knows it. So I think Sam Burns is a good bet. And I'll be honest, the double chance, I just threw Spieth in there because if he does win, I want to feel like KP. I really, really do. And then, of course, Norlander, I think he's going to be a top 10, so he had to be my top Euro. And Ricky Fowler. I'm tired of people thinking – somebody else I saw picked him top 20 on some show today. I was like, are we watching him hit? I watched every single shot he hit last week. He is not a top 20 player right now. He's not a top 50, not a top 70. He misses the cut.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to do my best Lee Corso and go not so fast, my friend. Hey, do you want to have a little? Do you want to have a little wine bet on Casey v Zalatoris? Talking about who is hitting right now. I don't care if he's playing in the Middle Eastern time zone or in the Pacific time zone.
Done.
Paul Casey is flushing.
Done.
And for the record, Greg still hasn't paid me, folks. Can we please have an investigation?
Yeah.
Deal.
Mine will be in the mail on Monday. It might arrive before you get back home. That's how good I am at paying off my bets.
Wine wager alert.
Let's go.
It's on.
Right.
It's on. Mark is 2-0. And first of all, as soon as Coach started talking, Mark threw me the hand. I knew it was coming. I saw the look in his eye, and I said, he's going to make a wine wager. I know it's coming, and we've got it in the book. So just to be clear, this is Will Zalatoris over Paul Casey. Coach has Zalatoris. Mark has Paul Casey. I understand that correctly.
Yeah, that is correct.
100%.
Okay, I absolutely.
I feel like I'm part of the team now that I've got a wine bet with Mark.
This is good. This is good, Coach. We need you to tell us which one of these is your best bet so that we can highlight that and put it into our system here.
Let's go with Zalatoris over Casey just to make things interesting.
Let's double down. Let's do it. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Okay, well, Mark is feeling good. We're going to go to his betting card next here. And Mark, you have a very tight card. I like this. 5 bets you have made. 4 of them are group bets. So we'll have to pull the groups for these. But you have Matthew Neesmith to win a group, Paul Casey to win a group, Alex Noren and James Hahn to win a group. And then you have Frankie Molinari, Francesco to be the top. I love when they do this. Continental European at 2-1. So it's Matthew Neesmith that is your best bet, Mark. Tell me why that's your best bet.
Well, the guy is a fantastic putter, and if you've ever watched him play, he hits the ball really soundly as well. He's got a very simple golf swing, no unnecessary moving parts. And he's been playing, he's found himself up leaderboards over the last few weeks on different types of golf courses. Played well for a little while there in Torrey Pines on Poa-annua, like we have out here. That's on the West Coast, and went to the desert last week and shot 64 on day 1. So obviously the confidence is high. But what I love about the game is how he putts Poa-annua greens. And this place around here, there are 2 things you have to do. You've got to putt from below the hole on Pebble Beach. You cannot hit the ball hole high or beyond the hole because you'll putt defensively. And so I feel like he'll put the ball in play a lot off the fairway or off the tee, get himself into positions and then take advantage. And he's playing well. And as I looked at the group, I don't want to sound like this is a Scott Stallings comment, but no one really sprung off the page at me, So I was like, okay, that one and the odds I think is a fantastic bet. And if you look at what I've done here, apart from Molinari, I've gone with my usual 5 bets for $20, which seemed to have been working just by sheer happenstance. But all of the odds, all the rest of the odds are pretty good. I mean, Casey to win
Yeah.
Group A at 450, I'd go with that all day long. I'm about to win wine on him, so I mean, why not make it a good weekend? And Noren's been playing well, and I spoke briefly with him in Torrey Pines, very happy with his game and how he was feeling physically. And James Hahn was playing well last week, so I think those are tremendous odds for those guys to win those groups.
All right, I absolutely love it. I have tournament group E here, and producer Jacob, we'll go to my card next. Tournament group E, the one that is Mark's best bet, Matthew Neesmith. The other participants in this group are Nick Taylor, Doug Gim, Joel Damon, Chris Kirk, and Russell Knox. So you get Matthew Neesmith at 4-1 on your money, which yes, you've been churning profits all year long, Mark. Why stop now? All right, producer Jacob. We're going to go to my card, and I've got to find my card here. Okay. What I've done, this is a little different for me. I've taken a coach approach where I've laid heavily into matchups. So I have 3 matchups for $25 a piece. I have Alex Noren over Joel Damon. I'm happy to hear that Mark also likes Alex Noren. I'm thrilled about that. I have Cameron Tringale over Phil Mickelson because Phil is all over the place, whack-a-mole, and Max Homa over Ricky Fowler. So I faded both Fowler and Mickelson. And then, Coach, let me get your thoughts on this. I think this field has completely opened up. I don't know who's going to win this thing. I've just sprayed $5 each to win on Streelman, Burns, Steele, Malnati, and Lashley. I'm just saying this thing's wide open. Let me see if I can find a winner.
People don't realize that Kevin Streelman has the last 5 years in a row top 20s, the last 3 years in a row, top 10s at this event. I love that pick for you at plus 3,300. And I think Sam Burns, I think he's going to win this week. He's my pick to win. So of those 2 of those 5, I love him. I love him. I love it. Sam Burns, his ceiling, and I had a stat for this. His ceiling this year is JT, Xander, and Siwoo Kim levels of ceiling. Obviously, Siwoo has already won. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the floor very low as well. So we just got to put all 4 rounds together, Sam, and we'll figure it out. That's right.
Okay, KP, you are making a name for yourself, my friend. You are taking over the Twitterverse. People are enjoying your betting cards, and you actually took it easy on us this week. You gave us 8 bets, which is still the most of anybody, but you gave us 8 bets. I'll run through them real quick, and then we can chat here. So top 10s and top 20s to start. Will Zalatoris top 10. Kevin Streelman, Ricky Fowler, Harold Varner III, all top 20s. Sam Burns over Cam Davis in a tournament matchup. Francesco Molinari over Siwoo Kim in a tournament matchup. And then you have 2 3-balls to round this out. Will Zalatoris to beat Berger and Spieth. That is shocking to see on paper for you. And then Paul Casey over Patrick Cantlay and Jason Day. So clearly what I see here is you are still very bullish on Will Zalatoris. He makes 2 of your 8 bets, and you are buying that Fowler is closer than most people believe.
Yeah. So Zalatoris, I think we're just, I think the name, like his name is not caught up with his play yet. Kind of like how it took a while for like Hovland and Morikawa. It's like, we kind of hear their names and their stats are pretty, all of a sudden, like, their name catches up with how well they're playing. And to me, that's where Zalatoris is at right now, especially in a kind of a weaker field like this. He's one of the, over the last 6 months, nobody's been better from tee to green. And then over the last 3 months, it's really him and Paul Casey, like Mark said, that are hitting it among the best in the field. So I love him. The Fowler thing, I don't feel great about it, especially after Coach just eviscerated everyone who bet on him.
I didn't know. My apologies.
But the case for him is like, and I realize this is not a great case. The case for him is he cannot be this bad of a putter. Like it's almost statistically impossible for him to putt this poorly for an entire season, and he's hitting the ball pretty decently. If you look at his tee to green stuff over the last, 3 months, I guess since the end of last year, it's pretty good. It's just the putting has been so bad. And is that going to click on the Poana at Pebble? I don't know, probably not. But I do feel like you never get value with Fowler in the betting market, but I think you kind of are this week with him.
I want to ask Mark in a second about Ricky Fowler and the putting, but real quick before I do that, KP, I need a best bet from you out of these 8.
I hate all of them.
Oh, perfect.
Molinari over Kim.
Yeah, it's either that or Streelman top 20. I'll go Molinari over Siwoo. That's
Okay.
good, Mark. I like that.
Francesco Molinari over Siwoo Kim to be Kyle's best bet. And Mark, I want to ask you about this because the Ricky Fowler putter thing I think is super interesting. He's been using that like mallet style putter, and then on Friday at the Waste Management, he started to tinker. He took like his caddy's old blade putter or something and putted with that before he missed the cut. And I kind of see this two ways, and I want to get your thoughts on it. One, it does not glean a whole lot of confidence when a golfer is kind of tinkering like this in competition. But also, I feel like sometimes just something to different, right? So these guys just sometimes need something different, a different feel for a day. Maybe they find something. And I wanted to open that up to you because Ricky is in a tough spot with the flat stick right now.
Well, to me, it boils down to always when you see guys with multiple putters, they're looking just for maybe a change of scenery, that whole new broom sweeps clean sort of a mentality. But the thing about certain style putters is how they perform, and whether there's face balancing to them or whether there's some toe hang or whether they're designed to swing back straight through or swing back and through with some arc. And how they weight it. Is there like a counter weight in the heel or in the handle, shall I say, and what is the face of the club weighted like and the overall mass of the thing. So there are many factors that are brought to bear. But when you see a player moving from one style to a drastic change to another, that sort of always indicates to me that there's searching on the go. And I find it so funny because I remember saying as an announcer, I would bet my mortgage on Ricky Fowler with a blade, with that old Scotty Cameron blade in his hand. The swing of the blade, the way the thing used to raise up off the ground, the freedom with which he putted was just off the charts to me, and everything was rolling at the hole, and the hole had a chance to catch the ball. But here of late, it looks a bit more defensive. He's up and out of putts pretty fast. So it speaks of indecision to me. So, if I was advising him, I'd say, Rick, for the longest time, you filled it up from all ports of call. Get that old thing in your hand. Go and look at video of how you stood, where the weight was distributed, what your pre-shot routine was, and go back to that and go and take the same route up the mountain that you found the first time. Because in my estimations, with having worked with golfers of the skill level, there's something about finding a different way up the mountain. They've scaled Everest, and then they go down the other side because they've overbalanced, and then they try and take a new route up. I'm like, if you've blazed the trail, go up the same way. So I find the whole thing a bit curious myself. But I don't have enough information from the inside. I don't know what the thinking is, but I am surprised that the style of putter is changing so much. Ordinarily, you'd find just little variations or deviations. But, when you're fiddling around that much, maybe he was just messing around on the green. But that's some pretty fundamental and drastic adjustments that he's looking at.
For sure. We'll certainly, I'll be very interested to see what he rolls out this week at Pebble Beach. Gentlemen, time for one and done. And we're going to work our way up from the bottom of the standings here to the top. So, Coach, you've got $1.59 million in the bank. You went with John Rahm last week, who got you $138,000. The only golfers that you have used are Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Sepp Straka, Hideki Matsuyama, and John Rahm. So you have an entire arsenal full of golfers that you can deploy. What do you think?
I'm surprised you didn't.
I think this is the way.
Real quick, I'm surprised you didn't save Sepp for the U.S. Open. You just burned him early.
Oh man, I thought about it. It was a lot of time in my day, KP. A lot of time in my day dealing with that. I'm going to go with Sam Burns. I just choose to believe, and of course we can be wrong, but he's having too many weeks where his name is showing up every single week, and it's either Saturday or Sunday that he does nothing. This past week it was Saturday, but I choose to believe that if it's not all 4 rounds, he has enough in his gas tank to have a really high finish this week. Plus, I think he's going to go down the mountain that Mark just talked about because he's played so much and he's played well so much. I don't want to wait till April when he's not playing well to get as much money out of him as I can.
The stat that I was referencing earlier, so in 10 rounds for Sam Burns this year, he has gained at least 3.5 strokes in a single round. That's a ton, 4 times. The only other guys who have done it that often are Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, and Siwoo Kim. It's just the floor rounds that we have gotten from which have been pretty ugly, hasn't been able to put it all together. So I like that a lot, Coach, as well. It actually might end up being mine because I've kind of used everybody else too. Producer Jacob is at Producer Jacob's at 2.2 million. He's coming off Will Zalatoris, so we'll see where he goes for this week. KP, $2.6 million. You are coming off of a goose egg from Ricky Fowler. You got Tony Finau the week before, and you've already used Phil Mickelson because you used him the week before that and also got a goose egg. So you need some dollars here, my friend.
I will probably end up picking Streelman or Sam Burns. So maybe we're all going to pick the same guy. But if I can talk myself into it in the next 24 hours, I really want to take Spieth because I just because I want to. I don't know. So the case for Spieth is, he's obviously not hitting driver very well, but his iron play last week was like an all-time performance. And I realize he's hitting it from all over the yard. So it's, there's more strokes to be gained, but he's hitting his irons really, really well. And that's when he was so good, is when the iron play was great. And we've seen it at Pebble over the course of his career. He finished in the top 10 here last year with nothing. He had nothing. And then he shot that great round on, I think it was Sunday, either Saturday or Sunday, to kind of backdoor his way into a top 10. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to talk myself into it, but I really want to.
I'm trying to talk myself in or out of Jason Day, kind of in that similar situation. I've just crossed the $3 million mark. I've not used Jason Day. I have burned Patrick Cantlay. I've burned Daniel Berger. So I'm trying to figure out if I should convince myself that it's a Jason Day week or just fall in line and take Sam Burns. Still yet to be determined. Greg's at 3.4 million. He is coming off of 23,000. Oh, Greg's in a rut here. Since Greg got 2 million at the Masters, he's made 192,000 combined in 6 weeks. He needs to start moving in the right direction, or else I'll be nipping at his heels here momentarily. But it's Mark who is atop the mountain, $4.29 million, and you are coming off a John Rahm performance that netted you $138,000. You now turn your attention to Pebble Beach. What do you think?
First off, Coach, speaking of the Masters, you had made some quip that you were going to suck me in by the time the Masters rolled around in April. You remember that? Okay.
Well, if you wouldn't pick the same guys that I pick, I could do that.
Well, I could do that too. Remember? Okay, so here's the thing. To the Sam Burns thing, he was intriguing to me, but the one thing about Sam Burns is he hits wedges with a whole lot of spin. And around these greens over here, you cannot do that because the place is receptive, or every green is tilted from front to back to you. So if you're hitting hard spinning wedges in here, which he's going to do because he drives the ball so long, I feel like he'll be in a place where you have to, I just don't feel like he'll give himself as many looks as he should. I'm truly on board with Spieth a little bit right now. Because unlike everyone thinking that the driver went sour in round 4 there last week, he just didn't make those short putts that he ordinarily would. He missed early on the front side there, and then he missed a couple short ones, and I felt like that sort of put paid to the performance because he was playing from where he drove the thing, which is something Spieth has always done. So he's fascinating to me, but right now I'm leaning towards Francesco Molinari. He's played well in the US Open before. He's coming off 2 top 10s. And the game is just one of those in a week where we're likely to be in rain gear. That golf swing of his has not got a lot of moving parts. The arms are always out in front of him. He hits the ball pretty soundly. It goes through the wind. And, Pebble is like Torrey Pines. It's hard to handicap because you're going to have 1 or 2 short misses on the greens. So I feel like right now he's the guy that's jumping out to me because this is sort of a second shot golf course in a place where if you hold out well from 5 feet, you're going to be good.
I love it. Very good insight there. If you want our full cheat sheet, Jacob sends that out on both Instagram and Twitter. So make sure to follow us over there. Gentlemen, last chat. Perfect timing, Kyle. Go ahead.
Real quick, I love the Molinari pick. I saw a lot of people don't like Molinari this week, and I'm curious. Do you know why, Rick? Like, what's the?
That would be news to me. I mean, the guy's coming off back-to-back top 10s. I'm willing to wipe his entire 2020 year off and say, okay, fresh start. This should be one of the better spots for him, right? I wouldn't understand that at all.
Yeah, it feels it. It feels like he's underrated right now because I feel like people just completely wrote him. You're right, like completely wrote him off after 2020, and it's like, wait a second, this guy's like a top 20 guy in the world if he's playing well. So I love it. I think it's a great pick.
Hey, there were certain of us on this podcast that wrote him off as well, just to call a spade a spade. But the thing about this boy is he, in the UK, plays golf at the Wisley, which is a similar sort of setup to this, small greens, Pioneer and stuff, and he lives on the West Coast right now. So, I mean, why not go after a guy who's sort of West Coast biased, because when we get to Florida, it's an entirely different skill set really that's required around there. I mean, I'm considering him the player as I always will, but I feel like he'd be good this week.
Who wrote him off on the podcast?
There were a few of us that like, Molinari, whatever. Tiger killed him on the 12th hole at Augusta National.
Well, he did. He raised himself from the dead. He resurrected himself.
That's living in somewhere in the recesses of my mind that he was killed by Tiger on the 12th.
That was definitely said. Yeah, that was definitely said for sure. Okay, gentlemen, much appreciated. We are locked and loaded for Pebble Beach. Thank you, producer Jacob. Very hardworking episode as usual for him. The coach, who you can find on Twitter at The Coach Rules. Thank you very much. Mark Immelman, who you can find at Mark_Immelman. That's Kyle Porter over there. You can follow him at Kyle Porter CBS. You can follow me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.